Next, the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil is hosting a Brics summit this Sunday. The grouping is made up of 11 economies, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The countries are expected to denounce U.S. President Donald Trump's trade tariffs, saying they are illegal and risk hurting the global economy. For more on that, our international affairs editor, Kéthevane Gorjestani, joins me on set. Kéthevane, so the Chinese President Xi Jinping will be absent at the summit. The Russian President Vladimir Putin will, of course, be physically absent, but he will be attending via video conference. Is there anything to be said about the two leaders' absence?
Well, obviously, the reason for their absence is not the same. For the Chinese president, he's sending his prime minister in his place. It seems the official excuse is scheduling conflict, but it seems that maybe there's some diplomatic issue there where Narendra Modi, the Indian prime minister, is sort of the guest of honor, and Xi Jinping didn't want to be upstaged. While for the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, that is because he's under an international arrest warrant. And while the Brazilians didn't say openly that they would arrest him, the question was, does he put the hosts in a position to possibly have to decide whether or not to arrest him? So that was the reasoning for the Russian president not to come. But as you said, he'll be participating via a video link, and he is sending his foreign minister. There are also two other presidents who are going to be absent. The Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, of course, with his country just coming out of that 12-day war with Israel, as well as the Egyptian president, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. So there are a lot of big players that are not going to be physically present. That said, obviously, Lula is going to be there, Modi, the Indian prime minister, as well as Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the South African president. Those three are going to be sort of the leaders physically present at this summit. So the absence of some of the big guns like China and Russia, in a way, shows a little bit of a struggle for the Brics Plus now to mark themselves as relevant as the G7, for example, which they're trying to be a counterweight to. But it might also, in a way, make the lives of those who are present a little bit easier, because if you think about the countries and the leaders who are present, Brazil, India, South Africa, they are more on a sort of position of non-alignment with Western countries, with the G7, while countries like Russia or China, they're more of an anti-Western stance. That's their goal there. So maybe they'll get a little bit more room to navigate. The other thing to note is that the Brics Plus now, with the addition of many countries last year, represents more than half of the world's population, more than 40% of the economic output. But that also means that if you have more diplomatic clout, because you have more countries, you also need to find consensus among a lot of more countries. And so they're running a little bit into the same problems as the G7, as the G20, is that the more people or leaders there are, the more different sort of interests there are. And so it's harder to reach a consensus. And we're seeing that possibly in the final declaration. We don't have the text, the official text, just yet. But it seems that there are some discussions about how strong the wording is, for example, on the war between Russia and Ukraine, on the situation in Gaza, on the situation in Iran, and also, and very importantly, on the situation with the United States, especially Donald Trump's tariff war. According to a draft declaration, it seems that they focused on talking about the serious concerns about the rise of unilateral tariff and non-tariff measures, without directly mentioning the United States or Donald Trump, which means that those countries like Brazil, for example, who sort of want to play it a little bit low-key and not anger the United States, may have managed to win over some others like China, who are more into a confrontational position.
All right, Kéthevane, thank you very much for that.